Hello, everyone. Welcome to the overview of the 2019 Family Unification Program Notice of Funding Availability. I'm Ryan Jones, Housing Program Specialist in the Office of Housing Vouchers Management and Operations Division. The purpose of this recording is to provide an introductory overview of the 2019 FUP NOFA. Not all elements of the NOFA will be covered today. You are strongly encouraged to review the NOFA in its entirety before developing and submitting an application. Today's agenda includes 14 sections. We'll begin with general NOFA information, provide a brief overview of FUP, highlight HUD's policy priorities with this NOFA, point out the major changes from the prior FUP NOFA, describe who is eligible to apply, discuss the concept of a minimum and maximum award, walk through some threshold requirements, discuss the required statement of need, memorandum of understanding, and rating factor certification. We'll then jump into the rating criteria, review and selection process, and close with how you can obtain an application and provide contact information should you have questions. Through this NOFA, HUD is announcing the availability of $20 million for new incremental housing choice voucher assistance under the Family Unification Program, commonly referred to as FUP. The application deadline is December 17, 2019. Complete applications must be submitted no later than 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on that date. HUD strongly encourages the submission of an application in advance of the deadline to allow time to address any issues that may arise and allow the applicant to review their submission to ensure that the submission is complete. As in the previous FUP NOFA, this NOFA requires collaborations between a public housing agency, public child welfare agency, and continuum of care. Applicants do not have to have previous experience administering FUP. HUD anticipates announcing awards in March of 2020. By statute, there are two populations eligible to be assisted with FUP. First are families for whom the lack of adequate housing is a primary factor in the imminent placement of the family's child or children in out-of-home care, or the delay in the discharge of the child or children to the family from out-of-home care. The term lack of adequate housing is defined in the NOFA. The other population to be served with FUP are youth that are at least 18 years and not more than 24 years of age, who left foster care at age 16 or older, or will leave foster care within 90 days, in accordance with the transition plan described in Section 475(5)(h) of the Social Security Act, and are homeless or at risk of becoming homeless. The term homeless and at risk of homeless are defined in the NOFA. It should be noted that unlike families, the statute limits the length of assistance for youth assisted under FUP to 36 months of assistance. This NOFA reflects four policy priorities. First, the continued importance of increasing coordination between PHAs, PCWAs, and continuums of care, and the federal resources they administer. Second, for communities to collect and leverage data to drive the allocation and use of resources. Third, to build upon efforts to strengthen connections to HUD's Family Self-Sufficiency, FSS program, or similar program that led to the self-sufficiency of families and youth. Fourth, increase access to supportive services to support successful participation in the program. If you reviewed or previously applied for assistance under the FY 2017 and FY 2018 FUP NOFA, you'll note some major changes. These changes were made to improve the application process. 3 changes are highlighted here. First, HUD has streamlined the statement of need. So where some communities may have submitted pages of information, they can meet the requirements in 2 or less pages. Second, HUD introduced a rating factor certification. This will provide visibility to communities on their anticipated score and improves HUD's review of applications. Third, HUD revised the rating criteria elements from those used in prior NOFA to address HUD's priorities and best practices. This NOFA sets a minimum request and award floor of 3 vouchers. The NOFA also sets a maximum number of vouchers that a PHA may be awarded. The maximum number of vouchers awarded on this NOFA will be the number of vouchers capped at the PHA voucher program size allowance or the identified need if lower than the indicated cap. So if a PHA submits a supported request for 200 vouchers but is only eligible for 50 vouchers, no greater than 50 vouchers may be awarded. In addition to the voucher number limit, there is a dollar cap of $1.2 million. Only PHAs that have an existing ACC with HUD for housing choice vouchers are eligible to apply for funding under this announcement. Eligible PHAs must have a demonstrated commitment to administer FUP, which is verified by an executed MOU between the PHA, PCWA, and COC, and in accordance with this NOFA. The MOU is included in the application. For clarity, HUD will only consider funding 1 application per PHA. There is not an exception to this policy for statewide PHAs. In the following slides, we'll be touching on FUP utilization requirements for those PHAs that already administer FUP, the Memorandum of Understanding, Statement of Need, and Rating Factor Certification. These are all threshold requirements, but are not all of the threshold requirements. Please review the NOFA for details on other threshold requirements. Let's spend a few minutes on the FUP utilization threshold, as this is a departure from the prior NOFA. For PHAs that administer FUP, such PHAs must have a FUP utilization rate of 90% or greater, or absent a utilization rate of 90% or greater, have adopted a plan to achieve full utilization within 12 months from date of application. Said another way, for those PHAs that haven't reached 90% utilization, these PHAs will not automatically be disqualified from the NOFA, as was the case in the prior NOFA. Rather, such PHAs must have a plan to reach full utilization, and by applying under this NOFA, are certifying to having such a plan in place. HUD understands that this may include PHAs that were awarded FUP vouchers under the previous NOFA and are working to lease up with those vouchers and has a need for additional vouchers. The action plan does not need to be submitted with the FUP application. Continuing on threshold requirements, as in years past, a statement of need is included as a required element. However, the requirements have been revised to streamline the statement of need. To facilitate this requirement, the NOFA includes a sample document. Only one statement will be reviewed per application. This is the case even where a PHA has jurisdiction over multiple communities. Continuing with the statement of need, the PCWA and COC must contribute to it. This year, HUD is not requiring the signature of the PCWA or COC on the statement of need. In this NOFA, HUD is only requiring the signature of the Executive Director, Chief Executive Director, or individual of equivalent position of the PHA. A sample statement of need is included in the appendix. As in past NOFAs, a Memorandum of Understanding is required to be included in the application. To assist applicants, a sample MOU has been included in the appendix of the NOFA. An applicant's MOU must be included as a separate attachment. Deficiencies in the MOU are not curable. For example, lack of signatures or failure to include another required element. The MOU's execution date must be between the date of this NOFA was published and the application deadline of this NOFA. The MOU must be executed by the official representative of the PHA, PCWA, and COC. It should be clear which agency the signature is for and what their title is. For example, if it wouldn't be clear to a layperson that the organization is the COC, the MOU should make that role clear. In circumstances where one person has more than one role, make clear that the person has more than one role and isn't just signing under multiple organizations. New for this NOFA is the introduction of the rating factor certification. This rating factor certification tells HUD which rating criteria the applicant is requesting consideration under and how they are qualifying for those factors, and where HUD may verify this information. To get points under the rating factors, the certification must be included